All right. Namaste, everybody. Welcome to Wisdom Wednesdays with Jeffrey Armstrong, Kavindra Rishi, founder of VASA, Vedic Academy of Science and Arts. Jeffrey's a Vedic scholar, a Jyotishi, a philosopher, poet, and author of numerous books on Vedic wisdom. He is also co-chairman of the VFA, Vedic Friends Association, and has been working on behalf of the Vedic Sanatan Dharma for over 23 years when he retired from corporate life. If you go to his About section on his website, jeffreyarmstrong.com, you can learn more about him. His resume is too long to go over here, but go to the About section. You can read his blog, his fabulous poetry. There's so much on his YouTube channel that will give you enough wisdom to keep you busy for a few years. So I invite you to check those out, jeffreyarmstrong.com. All right, so today our topic is Karma Q&A. And several of you have sent in questions for Jeffrey to answer. So what we're going to do is incorporate those questions into the first hour. And then we're going to take Q&A for the last 30 minutes. So I hope we cover everybody's questions, but I can assure you karma is a big subject, and you just start in the conversation and you realize how little you know. But the first thing is that most of us do not have the basic premise of karma. And I'm going to ask Jeffrey to start us there, and then we'll work into it a little deeper. Now, at the end of the talk, in your account, you're going to get class notes so that you can go over these words and sort of dig down deeper into the meanings of these and meditate upon some of these concepts. So, Jeffrey, I'll turn it over to you. And do you want to start us sort of at the beginning?
Thank you, Sandy. Just one comment about your questions. It's very easy with karma as a subject to have your question come from your pain, from a sense of victimhood, or from an aspiration and something you're hungry for. So please be very careful not to ask questions that are your karma, but we're here to learn about the principles of karma. So be sure to resist the temptation to talk about the karmic events of your life. Ask questions about karma as a science. Thank you. And yes, Sandy, I'll begin now. And we always begin with the mantra to the gurus, because this Vedic knowledge is special in that way. The Vedic civilization I have named the people of a library, since the three one-lifetime Abrahamic religions, no disrespect to them, but they call themselves the people of a book. So the definition then for the culture from the place we call India is that they are the people of an extensive library of ancient wisdom in both science and softer subjects about who we really are. And all of those literatures are in the Sanskrit language, which is the most perfect language in existence on our planet. So this people of a library are the people also who see us all on a long journey. So I begin simply honoring all of the gurus and teachers that have given me the knowledge that I'm now sharing with you. Om Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshvaraha, Guru Sakshad Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. All right, thank you. Now, the starting point for this conversation is actually seriously out of our civilizational box. Again, no disrespect ever intended when I speak of them, defining their principles, but the Abrahamic religions of Judaism, Christianity, and Islam have all decided that there is only one lifetime. And this is the most conspicuous difference in worldview between the Vedic knowledge and those three traditions. Similarly, in reaction to those three traditions, our Western science has declared itself often agnostic or atheistic or antithetical to the concept that the universe is purposeful. It is a bit ironic, don't you think, that scientists are studying the purposes in the universe while saying that the universe is purposeless? I don't know if you've thought about that, but it's rather ironic. So I sometimes call the psychological attitude of modern science the runaway abused child from the medieval Catholic Church. They're still in reaction to all of this. And this basis of what we're going to start with is the unique teaching from Bharat, B-H-A-R-A-T, correct name for what is now known as India, geopolitically. So the basis of the entire civilization is this. This namaste is each individual human being, when they see another living entity, they acknowledge that what they see from the outside is the vehicle, and the real being is the consciousness inside the vehicle, who's the driver. So this body is called the karana in Sanskrit, and it is where we get the English word car. This is your automobile. Auto means self. Mobile means to move around. This is the thing you move around in. This automobile is no more you than the one you purchased and drive in now, or have been driving in. Those automobiles will wear out, but you, the driver, have gone from automobile to automobile to automobile, from one vehicle to another, got on airplanes. The principle is exactly the same. So this is called your 5-element body. It's the karana. It's made of earth, water, fire, air, and space, combined very uniquely and interestingly, but really that's what it is. So I call it the food body. This is the body you make out of lunch and breakfast and dinner. I had a lovely breakfast today. I hope you did. So we're not talking against it, but this is the lunch body. And that's even why we look at some people and go, ooh, you look good enough to eat. We don't even mean it sexually. We just mean you're like this beautiful feast of energies, because we're all here to have this experience. But who are we all? That is the term Atma, A-T-M-A. Atma means you can't destroy it. In Latin, it's atome. It means you can't cut it. You can't break it. You can't get rid of it. You can't destroy it in any way, shape, or form. So the premise of karma is that we are all Atmas, and that we chose to go on this journey to the realm that we're in right now, which is called Prakriti. Prakriti. It's the place that keeps getting made again every year. Notice the seasons. Every year, we're back at spring now. Flowers are coming out, plants are coming back. So everything here is on a wheel and is cyclic. So that process happens inside of Prakriti. Sandi, I think you made a vocabulary list for people to go with this, didn't you?
I did, yeah.
Good.
They're going to get it at the end.
Good. So at the end, you're going to get all of these Sanskrit words.
In the meantime, Andrea's typing them in.
And Andrea's typing them in. So good. So we're setting the context. So if this is the karana, then what is the dream body? What is that body that we go doing things in at night while this one is parked on the bed?
I want you to know I'm a size 6 in my dream body.
And I can do anything, almost. But learning to go traveling at night in your dream body is one of the great human skills. You'll notice that animals do it. You'll be sitting there and their legs shaking and obviously having a dream of some kind. So all conscious entities have this other body, which is called the antakarana. If this is the car, it's the other car, antar. It's the other car. It's the inside car. And so this one's made of earth, water, fire, air, and space. The antakarana, the one that we go driving in when we dream, when we daydream, when we use its faculties, and it's also the one, according to the Vedic teachings, that when this body gets towed away by busters, May your body not get towed away for a good long time. But when it happens, instead of panicking, we know that our antakarana and our Atma simply go somewhere. And we have a conversation. They show us the movie of our last life. Here's what you did. Here's what went on. See that, see this, see that. And then they cue you up, count your karma points, and point you to your next body.
So these are all things that you have created this lifetime, all with your free will.
Well, it's actually a long chain of events, and that's where we're going to go. This is where people get a little lost with it. But the antakarana is where we keep our memories and karmas from life to life. So it's kind of this huge...
It's like the hard drive of the computer.
Yeah, or like a huge chest of drawers where you saved all your stuff. Ironically, this is where the Abrahamic religions are doing a very funny thing that shows their one life perspective. You notice that they put people in a box and put them in a ground because one life makes them nervous. So they're thinking, I don't know for sure, but I might need that body again. Whereas the culture that believes that we're the Atma and that we quickly reincarnate each time and that we just keep going into another class of learning, that process of reincarnation is called Samsara. Samsara means really, the literal meaning of the Sanskrit is sam, together, and sara, swimming.
Sounds like some sorrows to me.
Yeah. Sometimes it's some sorrow, sometimes it's some pleasure, but it's samsara, and it's a wheel. So this is where the concept comes from, that we're on this wheel, and once we get on it, we can't just step off, because we're the individual who chose to come here, we the Atma. So we have this thing called free will, but it's not entirely free because we're surrounded by things that we didn't make. And we're surrounded by other people who also had free will. I push, she pushes back. We both have free will, or we hug. But that pushback between us, especially humans, is because we have this particular capacity to work with or go against the laws of nature.
I always like to add too that not only is your body your karma, but all of your relationships are your karma, good and bad. As
the Lakota Sioux say when they address a group, Mitakuyasin, all my relations. In some way, shape, or form, we're all swimming together. And if we're here at this moment in history, we're swimming with all these other dolphins, all these other beings. And so it's our karma to populate the planet with all of them right now in certain ways. So somehow we're a pod of human sort of dolphins swimming through the ocean of matter. Got it? Samsara. And we're the Jiva Atma. We're the air-breathing Atma. Because once we come here, we grab a hold of matter and we call matter ourself. So that's the process to understand. Just think for a moment that when we get into matter, we grab a hold of it. And when we do, just like we are with this body, if I told you I'm a black shirt person because I'm wearing a black shirt, you'd smile and say, naive, isn't he? Because the shirt will wear out. But look at our culture. If somebody's got black skin, they're a black skin person. I don't talk to those. Only if they're this or that, but yellow I don't know about either. And everybody's being adjudicated by the color of their car. Pretty silly. Shows you how deep this is. But when somebody does this, they're looking past your skin, past all the surface, past your gender, past your culture, past everything, and looking straight at you. There you are, the Atma. Now, this antakarana we need to talk about because it's one of the 8 material energies that makes this material being that we call ourselves. The first 5 are the earth, water, fire, air, space. The antakarana is made out of 3 departments. The first is called manas, M-A-N-A-S. The second is called buddhi. And the third is called ahamkara.
There are no English equivalents for these words, so you need to learn them in Sanskrit to get the bigger concept. And actually, Jeff, you didn't mention that karma is not cause and effect, by the way. That is, the simplistic explanation for it is that actually what he's trying to explain to you now is karma is cause and effect over lifetimes. And if you don't add the over lifetimes, you're back into the Christian paradigm of one life.
Or the scientific one of one life.
Mm-hmm.
And so, thank you, Sandy. That's essential to seeing this. As a matter of fact, what we're finally going to see ourselves as is immortal beings on a very interesting, long journey. And each time your vehicle is towed away, you simply have a little pause and you travel in your, think of it, the antakarana as your underwear and your 5-element body as your outerwear. See? So if right now I took everything off but my underwear, you wouldn't call me naked. It looks like it's a bathing suit. But I'm sort of stripped down. I don't have this, don't I look good in my shirt thing going on. My 5-element body's gone. I'm down to my underwear, which is manas, buddhi, ahamkara. So here's how it works. Just think of us coming into matter, and there's 8 layers of matter. So from the time you enter matter to the time that you land with a body, you get covered over 8 times on the down. So this is the first time we came into matter. Let's imagine the first time we became human, because we did all the animal births and all that. There's supposedly 8 million animal critter births, and we do them all before we do human. So think of that as grade school. So then we finally get to human, and now we get one of these. So the first layer is called Ahamkara. You know that feeling when you touch someone and sort of blend with them? That's what we're doing with matter right now. We're in contact with it, so I can't tell Sandy from me right now where I'm touching her because our energies blend.
Careful with the hand.
Thank you. So our Atmas came into matter, and the first thing we hit was a layer of matter, which is called Ahamkara. And it's the same feeling you get when you touch something and then start to blend with it. We blended with matter.
And it feels good. That's why we don't want to leave.
Yeah. And we're on an adventure, so we grab a hold of it. Can't be here unless you grab a hold of it, right? We call it correct embodiment. So we grab a hold of matter once we're in it, and we say, I am matter.
And I can do anything.
Well,
in matter.
I'm going to try.
I'm going to try.
I'm on this big adventure, and I grab the matter because I've got to grab it to be here, right? So that's called Ahamkara. It's not ego. Ego means the sense that I exist as an individual. But according to the Vedas, we come in as an individual. But then our first covering is Ahamkara. I am matter. So it is that last idea that yogis leave behind. Yogis go out of matter as their self. So they say, Aham Brahmasmi. I come from another place called Brahman. I am an immortal. I entered matter. And then when I came in, I didn't know better. I just said Ahamkara. So the next one after that is buddhi. Sandy, what's buddhi?
I have no idea. I'm just worried about our time right now. We're halfway
Taking
through.
too long? Halfway through?
We're halfway through.
All right.
So,
well, that's buddhi.
Sorry.
Buddhi is discernment. It's being able to tell one
thing from another.
From another.
Time.
And therefore, all the discernments we make are buddhi. Then manas is thinking, feeling, willing, and memory. Those 4 faculties. So look at yourself and look inside it. You'll see that there's a thinking part of you. There's an emotional part of you, the feeling part. There's a part of you that says, I'm going to go do that, a willing department. And then there's a memory department where I keep all my memories. We're flipping from one department to the next.
And one department or two departments or three departments are more developed than others. Everyone has an Achilles heel in one of those departments.
I saw a great cartoon on the internet. It showed a heart and a brain in bed. And one looked at the other and said, was it good for you? Because we flip between our thinking self and our feeling self and our memories. And so this is the place, the yogis say, where it's easiest to get lost. So Manas is called the Hall of Mirrors. But you'll notice that man is the basis of that, not masculine, but mankind, meaning male and female, all of us, are mind kind. We have Manas to a higher level than all the animals. That's what makes us who we are.
I just want to point out to everybody too, I know everybody out there is translating Manas as simply mind. It is not. It is the thinking, feeling, willing, and memory. And if you don't see those four distinct faculties within Manas, you are deficient in seeing the whole package of a person.
That's right. And it's one of the problems with Sanskrit translation, because these Sanskrit words are deep. The English word is superficial in a way. So if we translate that way, then we lose the depth of the word. So this is your dream body. The Ahamkara, the Buddhi, that which could tell one thing from another. Technically, the Buddhi could tell matter from the Atma. And that's a process also. That's where Buddha comes from. Buddha was good at that. And he would say, you're not that, you're not that, you're not that, which is called nirvan. Van means to own or belong, to own something. And nir means not. So what Buddha was really saying is none of this belongs to you. None of this is you. He didn't say where you go, where you're from, who you really are. He just took you and parked you at none of this is you. A very useful place to start. This is not you, none of this. So now, if we go on to karma next, the next word we need to know is called the Ritam, R-I-T-A-M. The Ritam, pronounced Ritam, like written, Ritam. That Ritam is the laws of nature. So let's just say that in order to have a universe, the term is Jagat, a Jagat, a great big turning cyclic reality with big enough to accommodate everyone. So to do that, it has to have a series of laws. I don't think anyone really debates that there are laws of nature, but the Vedic culture said everything here is governed by these rules. It's a rule-based system. So this is why these words that I'm teaching you are actually for programming the biocomputer. It's a programming language. And if you don't learn the Sanskrit, you can't do the programming. You can't do it intuitively, any more than you could program your computer intuitively. You must learn the words.
The software language.
They're the programming language. They're the scientific terminology that you use to tell one thing from another. You don't just go all dark and think about it and intuit it and get it. That's not how it's done.
And just a reminder for everybody just how close this concept is that this is the Christian heresy. This is what you could be burned at the stake for, saying there is reincarnation. So just put that filter on our society and see how little we have been informed on this, where in the East it is just a normal conversation. Yeah.
Thank you, Sandi. I hope, ladies and gentlemen, I'm one of your favorite heretics. I'm certainly a gentle one for all purposes. So burning me at the stake would seem like a waste of wood. I'm not really harming anyone. So the next word, Ritam, this Ritam, gives us in English the word rhythm, rhyme, ritual, and in Sanskrit, ritus or season. So all the things that nature is doing that make life possible, those writs, those laws of nature, when we writ them down, their rules, those things. If you go against those, then it doesn't go well for you. Not because you're being punished, but because you're inside of a huge contraption that is rule-based. So it's very important to understand that karma is not reward or punishment. It is simply the response from the laws of nature to your actions within nature. It's nothing personal.
Over lifetimes. The question we often get, and some of the questions were, is why are these terrible things happening to me? Have I done something terrible? Well, you probably were implicated in some lifetime in some scenario that you have long forgotten.
Maybe you worked for Monsanto. I don't know. There are lots of ways you could seem sincere and cause trouble. You get what I'm saying? So Monsanto was a poison-making company, still is. And so if you worked for it, I don't think you would be considered an evil being, just somebody trying to have a job. But you are making something that was used to kill lots of people and still is harming and killing a lot of people and animals and creatures and things. Do you see the implication? So just think of us as getting implicated in situations and getting varying degrees of residue from getting involved. Think of it that way.
Or imagine you were married to a wealthy drug lord and you had no idea what his business was. You just went on being the trophy wife and you had absolutely no idea. You are still implicated in the karma.
He said he was an investment. He didn't say he was also an enforcement. So there's a lot of people. New Jersey is noteworthy for hitmen who live in very nice upper middle class neighborhoods with kids that go to school and families that look quite respectable, and they make about $300,000 a year. So just think of us all as being dragged along by cause and effect since we're here, and yet implicated. And this is where discussions about karma sound like a court case. They sound like we're at a trial, and party of the first part and party of the second part, and they did this to them and they did that to them, and this happened and that happened and that happened and that happened. So, well, Your Honor, this one should get this and this one should get that. It's a little like that. In fact, karma court, when you leave your body, you go to karma court. And the being, the deva, the divine being, on behalf of the ultimate supreme being, who runs karma court is called Yama Raja. It's called the court of Yama. And literally, in some interesting and divine way, when you leave your body, finish a lifetime, you go and queue up at karma court. And at a certain point, so you're cool, you're just there waiting. At a certain point, you're called up to the stand and they show you your movie, but with commentary. Just like here, I see a commentary that's being typed in along as we speak. So you get to see the commentary and hear the commentary, and blow by blow, look at each frame of your life and they say this law, that law, this law, that law. That didn't look so good, that wasn't your best day. Oh, that was great, points for that, so on. And then it's all added up, and that's your karma points. And then you re-embody, find a family, head into a womb. All of this is the Ritam. All of this is karma. But there's one word we haven't said yet that's made out of re. So Ritam's the laws of nature. Then Kri is karma, and that is the rules of cause and effect. And the next is called Dharma. So the first thing Dharma is not is religion. Dharma actually is from the root Dri, D-H-R-I, same re as a Ritam, karma. But this one is the essential nature of a thing, which if you take it away, it is not itself. See that liquidity? If you take that away from water, it's not water, except if you freeze it, but that's a special exception. This is a glass, it's meant to hold. If it doesn't hold the water, it's not a glass, it's not doing what a glass is supposed to do. The dharma of the glass is to hold water. The dharma of the water is to be a liquid. Everything that exists within this jagat, within this universe, has a dharma. But because we have a particular body, there's also a correct use for each body.
Remember, your body is your karma this lifetime.
It's your car. And if we had time, we would go through what you know of as the doshas, the body types, and now we'd analyze the car. We do this in our relationship seminar quite a bit. And astrologers do this all the time, so we know how the car will function. So you all with me? So good. So now, here's two more sets of words. The first one is, if you do something against the laws of nature, you get what's called pop. And that is, you get demerits. Think of it as black marbles. Imagine you have a jar, and your jar gets filled with white or black marbles. If you work with the laws of nature, you get white marbles. If you work against the laws of nature, you get black marbles. Now, what happens next? Well, when you turn in your black marbles, you get pain. When you turn in your white marbles, you get pleasure. Sukh and dukh.
I remember once you saying to me, some people just get the pleasure body this lifetime.
They do. They just got the happy vehicle, and you might be thinking, what was I thinking last lifetime? If you don't like your vehicle so much, but it's the one you made.
There's also another thing, Jeff, I remember you saying that why would a child be born so handicapped that he dies relatively young? What was your answer to that? I found that quite fascinating because we don't usually understand why would that happen.
Well, there's a lot of reasons. It could, interestingly enough, it could be that they're almost completely finished here. They do a drop-in, and that was exhausting their last little bit of karma. They had no interest in being here really. So this is going to lead us to the next word we need to know, which is moksha. Moksha is going back where you came from. But moksha first is being here, but knowing that you're the Atma. Just think for a moment. If from now on, you don't forget what I've just said, and you learn these words, then every morning when you get up, you get your body up, wash it off, exercise it, feed it breakfast, hopefully meditate. And during that time, you should shift from I am the sleepy body to I am the Atma. If you go through the day being the body, you're just going to react to everything according to the body. And you'll just get deeper in your implication with the laws of nature. You'll violate one over here, one over here. We do it all the time. That's called a traffic cop. You're driving down the street and the traffic cop pulls you over and says you're going too fast. You have to pay us $300, whatever. So there you go. You were in violation. He can show you on his little meter. Look how fast you were going. Did you see that? Da, 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 da. So that's just Yamaraj's traffic police in the Jagat of the mature world, where you get pop, a negative marble, punya, a white marble. So someday you'll get sugar for that one, and you'll get unhappiness for that one, bitter taste.
I'm just thinking during this COVID virus time, this is a perfect time for us to look at our desires and just see how we're dragged from desire to desire to desire to addiction.
Yeah.
So it's a great opportunity for yogis to really pull back and live as the Atma every day.
Yeah. And this was my joke when everyone took all the toilet paper. I said, yeah, well, they actually took two things, junk food and toilet paper. The junk food is the problem, and the toilet paper was to remove the evidence. So this has brought many things to people's attention, but one is their addictions to unhealthy reality. So this also, now just think, what if you're eating junk food all the time? What if you're eating foods full of poisonous additives all the time? How long will it take for that to create a distortion? Why did that bad thing happen to an apparently good person? Well, because one of their senses was out of control. This one is considered to be the biggest problem child in the Karana. The yogis say the tongue is the most voracious sense. Next is the genitals. That pair cause most of the trouble, if trouble's going to be caused. So now we have a couple more words, and we're there for the moment. And then you can just assemble it and look at it and think about it. So the next part of this is, what is the definition of yoga? Or I should say next, actually, what is the 3 stages of karma? What happens? How do they unfold? How do you think of it as getting a disease. So the first thing would be, there's a seed that lands on you, and that seed is called a vasana. You know, when we do something and you feel like it got you smeared with something and you've got to go home and wash, that's a little impression it made on you. Sometimes when you go for a walk in the field in autumn, the seeds all stick to your sweater. So everything we do in matter, whatever you associate with, starts to make you like itself. So if I rub up against something, it leaves little impressions on me and they become my new normal. So those are called vasanas. Now let's imagine instead of pollen or a virus, it's actually a seed from the field. If that's the case, if you get that sweater wet, put it in your closet, and the seed is stuck in the wool of your sweater, when you come back to it, those seeds will grow, they'll turn green, pop out, and they'll use your sweater to grow in. So this is what happens with us. First, we have association with something, and it starts rubbing off on us. So you go to a bar, and you don't mind the cigarette smoke. So you put up with it. And then it gets in your sweater. If your partner doesn't smoke, you come home with that sweater, put it in the closet, and they'll go, ooh, what's that? And if you don't smell it anymore, you'll say, I don't know, what do you mean? What are you talking about? They'll say, your sweater smells like cigarette smoke. Go wash it. See, so we don't really know what it's like to not be slimed with all of the karmas of our civilization because we haven't separated ourselves from them. So first, those are called vasanas. Then when they start to sprout, this is a very important word now, they're called vrittis. Vrittis means stuff that's growing inside of you that you got by association unconsciously. And they're now growing, but when they get fully grown, they're going to give you desires for particular things. It's called a vritti. It means a little trap, a little vortex, a little spinning vortex of desire. Now, this is the root, you'll like this, of the word advertisement. Advertising is creating desires in the unconscious manas of humans. You show Ronald McDonald's playing and looking really happy, and then he eats this dead animal, and the kids go, I want to eat a dead animal too, like the clown who's happy because he's eating a dead animal, but it's a dead animal. When it's in your body, it may not be as happy. Not as much as the commercial. That's called a vritti. Those children just had a purposeful vritti placed inside of them to control their behavior and to get their money. This is a blatant vritti, but we get them from everything that we do. It rubs off, it gives us an identity, we identify with it, it starts to grow, we no longer notice it, it's the additive in our food, it's this, it's that. So in the Yoga Sutras, the text teaching what yoga is, the second verse states the purpose of yoga. Yogas, chit, vritti, nirodha. The purpose of yoga is to remove the vrittis from the antakarana. Is that clear? The purpose of yoga is not asana. Asana helps you balance the body so that you can focus upon the antakarana. Breathing balances the body so it's no longer disturbed. Asana helps you to stay balanced and steady and opens the energy channels so the life force flows through you. But that is not yoga until you go within, reaffirm your existence as the Atma, connect with some higher source of Brahman energy so that you get reinforcements. That would be a mantra.
Just like a plant,
or
you
knowledge,
take that in.
like sunshine. Just think that Brahman is the original sunshine, and that this matter makes us more and more endarkened. We're either enlightened or endarkened. So when you're endarkened, you're all hunched over and you identify with everything that's matter only, and you completely don't know you're the Atma. I call it Quasimodo. Yes, Master. Yes, Master. You've become the monstrous version of yourself. Now, shed all of that, redefine yourself, and the activity of all forms of yoga are to clean up the Atma, give it back its identity, have you remember that you aren't mortal, that you're mortal, immortal. And so that is what you do with vrittis. But if you don't, what happens next is you go out in matter, and because of the imbalances, you get hurt. Just look at yourself and think, how many hurts are you still carrying that are in the past? And if you're still carrying them, is it because you didn't learn the lesson? Because it should be that as soon as you're hurt, you analyze, you see why you were hurt, you made a mistake, you did something, you go, takes a few hours, and you're done. So why do people carry that around with them for 10 years and tell the story again and again and again? And then I got hurt, and then this happened to me, and then that happened to me, because they haven't digested the karma.
One of the very first things I remember you saying to me, because I had come out of the psychological model, was that I said to Jeffrey, why are we not allowing students to digest and,
To vomit
up their traumas,
tell their trauma stories
again and again, as a psychologist would do. And he said, that's not the yogic process. And I said, well, why not? People have to get it out. And he said, well, every time you regurgitate your story, sound vibration is so powerful that it just embeds it one more time deeper into your cells.
into your antakarana.
And it just like reprograms you at a subtle level, and that story sticks. And the only way to get that out of your system is with either a higher experience or through the yoga technique of mantras.
Thank you, Sandy. Yes, it's a little bit like this. You probably had this happen, that your vehicle, normally you just get out soap and water and you wash it, and whatever gets on it is just dust and it washes off. But if you happen to have gone in an industrial area or something, and a real oily, greasy substance gets on your outer side of your vehicle, it'll take a power wash to get it off. So,
or it's like, do you just keep adding oil, or do you actually have to flush the whole system regularly?
So these are all karma questions and yoga questions. What do I have to do to maintain myself as the Atma, no matter what life does to me? So bottom line here is, there is no benefit to you telling that sad story one more time. It's only because you can't get it off the paint. It's only because it's so deep, it's in the glove box, and you just don't know how to get it out. But if you could.
So it's like you can't imprint a new story if you can't change the old one.
If you don't have a blank sheet of paper, you can't rewrite your story. So so the word for all of those, now we were heading toward a word, and thank you, Sandy, because we went back around to it. It is called samskaras. Samskaras, I call samskars. If you are carrying scar tissue is useless because it's not flexible, it's not alive, it's just dead tissue, barely alive, that is occupying space where a function used to be, where a healthy function, where healthy skin used to be. So until you practice yoga, those vrittis and samskaras stay inside of you. So now for this, we need to know the 3 stages of karma. And this will be our last 3 words because we're almost out of time.
All right, write this one down, everybody, because this is something you're going to have to sort of put in your mind when you see something and say, what stage is this at? It's an amazing tool if you can grasp this and remember it at the right time.
Absolutely. Because think of this body as a garden that you're tending. After all, this is what Christianity originally meant by the Garden of Eden. The 2 trees were the sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system. Adam and Eve were faculties within ourself. And so when it said, don't eat of the tree of knowledge, it meant don't just eat of the knowledge of matter. Eat of this higher tree And our nervous system just looks like a tree. So these trees that are inside of us are where the metaphor came from, but it got lost, and then it turned against the female and went really bad. So back up from that. There's 3 stages of karma. Agama. Agama means going forward, or the result of moving. So agama, karma, is a new account you just opened. So let's say you're pulling out of the driveway, you're in a hurry to get to work, you back up quickly and run over someone's cat. All right, so that's going to take some fixing. Because it was your fault, you didn't pay attention, cat was just walking by, but you didn't even look, you ran over the cat. This is called agama. You just opened a new karmic account with your neighbor. If you just go, I'm sorry, I killed your cat, here she is. That probably isn't enough. You'll have to work on that one for a while. The second time you kill a cat, it'll really be a problem. The third time, it could get really bad. Do you see what happens? So that's called agama, opening a new account with someone. Okay? There's a saying in the Mahabharata that an enemy is created, listen carefully, when you say something to someone that cannot be forgiven.
How are you treating your barista, the person at the grocery store, the receptionist? All of these are creating karma.
In other words, every interaction we have is an opportunity with the laws of nature or with beings, is an opportunity to conform to the laws of nature and get punya, or to go against them and to know at some time there'll be a pop, there'll be a duke, a pain that results from that. So then Sanchito, we discussed that one. It means lying as seeds inside of you. So some karmas are just waiting to blossom. Some come from a previous life, some were planted this life, some were advertising. So vrittis are layer after layer after layer. That's called the Sanchita or seedling karma. Okay. And the last step, and this is very important to understand, these are the things that happen to us that make us ask, why do bad things happen to good people? To which I respond, you mean, why do apparently bad things happen to apparently good people?
And think of it also on a bigger scale. You've all heard of what a black swan event is, when something that nobody is thinking that happens, like this virus. It's a black swan event. Nobody expected it. So
Prarabdha means ripe fruit. And the saying is, when the fruit is ripe, it falls into your hands. So in the science of karma, which we're just giving you a vocabulary for right now, in Jyotish, in Vedic astrology, all of this comes together with the delivery system of the 9 grahas, the planets, and the constellations, and a way of looking at very minute cause and effect and seeing the timing of its delivery. And the delivery system is the devas and devis. Those so-called many gods are UPS, Universal Parcel System. Delivering the cause and effect we created, now ripe fruit, and it's called phala. Our word fall comes from that. It falls into your hands. It bounces off your head. It's the ripe karma, and the samskaras of your past may twist you so that you can't do certain things because you're not over the pain. So I'm just going to leave this conversation with one brief story. Imagine that you go to a friend of yours that you knew in high school comes to visit your house. And you all go downstairs finally in the basement, and you're showing them around. And you have this beautiful finished basement, but in one room, you have 3 kids, and you've kept all the diapers from those 3 kids because no one ever told you what to do with poopy used diapers. So you kept them thinking they might be valuable someday. So in one of the rooms, it's full of the diapers from 3 children's growing up. And your friend gets in the basement with you and goes, "Oh, what's that?" Ooh. Now I could interject, that's the unconscious mind. That's your poopy diaper room, where you keep all the crap you haven't gotten rid of in case you might need it again.
Or it was so traumatic in your life, you can't let go.
it's stuck on your hands.
And remember, there's a payoff for having re-expressing your trauma. It's a bonding thing in our society. And you go, oh. So that is also an addiction.
Because it gives the other person a chance to show their poopy diapers.
And an identity.
So here's the yogic saying. Now, end with this and we'll go to Q&A. It is, that was 1,000 years ago. So imagine something painful just happened to you, whether it was by someone's intention, by circumstance, whatever it was. Just fell and hit you in the head. You went to the hospital, spent a week, or somebody beat you up, you went to the hospital, spent a week. But now you've got stories to tell about your pain, about your suffering, about the negative. If you analyze what happened, if there was anything you could have done differently, that's the useful part of what happened. I shouldn't have done this, I shouldn't have zone, I didn't pay attention, That should take you a few minutes. And then you go, got it. The rest of the
Remember Buddhi, discernment?
Yeah, and that's what you use it for, is getting to the truth of what you just learned, installing that truth and keeping it. This is crucial. Otherwise, you're not getting the benefit of experience. But the rest is the poopy diapers. Our civilization is terribly confused about this. We make a living off of trauma. We idolize it. We repeat it. We regurgitate it. We serve it at dinner. We talk about it at the dinner table or while we're cooking. We're a vomiting, pukey, regurgitating the past kind of culture. Sorry about that. We're a poopy diaper culture. Not only that, we don't admit that in order to have North America, oh, I'm sorry, yeah, we did kill 300 million people.
My poopy diapers are better than your poopy diapers.
Yeah, of course they are. And that, I get a right to have poopy diapers because, you know, those people had to go so we can do this great stuff we're doing now. God bless America. You think so? Or do you think that the cause and effect of that slowly unfolds and eventually becomes the fruit that falls down and bonked Newton on the head? And just after that, he went to India and learned the theory of gravity. But I digress. Thanks for listening. This is your introduction.
Well, I wanted you to close with one thing.
Oh, you wanted me to close with something?
Yeah.
All right.
Well, before we take questions, one of the things that Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita about mantra, tantra, yantra, one of my favorite verses, I'll get Jeffrey to say it more accurately than I can. But I wanted to say, 23 years ago, I met this man in the corporate arena as a speaker. And one of the first things I said to him, why is a man with 3 degrees and photographic memory a Vedic astrologer? And I used to call astrology horoscopes because I just couldn't get my head around the nonsense in the papers. But over the years now, I've seen him do thousands and thousands of Vedic charts. And the first thing that he could tell from looking at a chart in the old days before Zoom and Skype was what a person looked like. Remember earlier, I kept saying that your body is your karma. In other words, your karma is written in the Vedic horoscope, as is the karma. How would an absolute stranger be able to tell you 10 or 20 things right off the bat about you? But in the Bhagavad Gita, it says, everybody comes into this world riding on a yantra. And that yantra is the blueprint of your karma, the shape and the form. And so everybody's unique, a unique individual. No 2 charts are alike, like a snowflake. And your karma is written. And you have the opportunity to use free will, as Jeffrey described the 3 kinds of karma, which he describes even further in his book I posted earlier, Karma, the Ancient Science of Cause and Effect. You can really get into it a little bit more because we're just at the tip of the iceberg describing karma. And I know it's probably awakened a whole bunch of questions for you. So we're going to take some more now.
And Sandi's quote is the 18th chapter. I believe it's verse 54. But it's the one that says that there's a merry-go-round that is moving in a circle. So that's the Jagat, that's the universe, that's Samsara. Okay, that's the cycles. And that merry-go-round, all of us are tied to that merry-go-round and can't get off. We're tied by Ahamkara, by identifying with matter. And the horse we're riding is the Yantra. It's the geometric design and engineering specs for our vehicle that we created by our clumsy cause and effect. We're attached to that, and that's attached to the wheel. You got it? You're attached to your vehicle's attached to the wheel of time, and you can't get off of either one as long as you still think it is self.
Now just think of that whole thing as a big computer, just a little clog, a little microchip in the big cosmos.
So moksha is when you let go of this vehicle as self. You don't destroy it, you don't ignore it, you redefine it as my car. And the same for your antakarana, just my airplane that I go flying in, but not me. Me is the consciousness, the chit, the conscious aware faculty that is the observer and seer and the knower. Yogas, chit, vritti, nirodha. Yoga is removing the misconception of self from our relationship with matter and turning it back to the definition of self as the Atma. Then that Atma asks itself the question, am I done here? Have I learned enough about matter? Or do I still need another life or 2 or 6 or 20? What do you, whatever you like. There's no limit. There's no house rule. But when you're ready, you'll attach yourself to the signal coming from the place that you originated from, which is an immortal realm of light rather than dark. And this is what a mantra is. The mantra is the vibration, the homing signal emanating from your origin point. And this knowledge is fragments of that light, because each fragment you get enlightens you a little bit more. It's wonderful of you to come and join us as we try to share this with the world at this interesting time in our world. So I'm so proud of you and ourselves for using this time in a beautiful, empowering way. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jeffrey. Andrea had a question. I'm going to let her come on. Do you want to put your video? Everyone can put your videos on now. We'll just raise your hand in the chat box. All right, Andrea, you had a question. Would you like to start? Where are you?
Sure, thank you. Thank you for the talk. My question had to do with, does karma also operate on a collective level? Like when we see groups of people suffering en masse, or because let's say their leaders are doing something that's causing suffering for everyone else, is that just everyone's individual karma coming at the same time, or is there actually also a concept of karma in pods or collective karma?
That's a great question. Have you ever played post office at a party where you pass a message around and see what happens to it? What if all of us are complicit in a confused understanding of self, and we just keep compounding the misunderstanding? And what we do then is not beneficial to the larger whole of beings and reality, but we're causing a series of small, which then become bigger and bigger by numbers, distortions. What if, what we're doing right now, what if the planet we live on, the assumption of most of its residents is use once, throw away. This is what I describe the Abrahamic religions as: use one, throw away. You only get one life. It only happens once. It's just a brief moment, and then it's over. If you embrace that perspective, I'm going to show you this, your time perspective will be very tiny. Your concept of cause and effect will be that way. So this creates a constant distortion in our relationship to all of the other species on the planet. This creates a group karma that becomes massive and all-pervasive. If you think about this right now, think about the millions and millions and millions of animals being tortured in dark buildings to become dinner for people? Do you think there's a causal relationship between the suffering of the animal, the body it produces, the chemicals in that body, the eating of that body full of those chemicals, the entire consequence to the planet, the shift in the climate, the shift in the water, all of the things that getting spilled out into that?
And also the people that are actually performing these duties for you. What do you think their psychological life is like?
And are they getting all the karma, or are you sharing it? Well, that's a duh. You're sharing it. So once you start to understand this, you see it on scale. And Andrea's question is a question of scale. There is a saying, and you'll find this interesting, that when someone becomes the president of a country, the country gets the karma of the president, and the president gets a certain percentage of the karma of the country. So if you get up into the hot seat, then everything you do has massive consequences. Now, try to imagine what you were in your previous life. That would make sense as a response to how you previously lived in that life and the consequences that came to you this life. Try to understand them as causally related. Now, throw in one more thing. While that's trying to happen, that karmic delivery system, I call UPS, Universal Parcel System, meanwhile, everybody's messing with you right now also using their free will. They're opening Agama, new karmic accounts. While your old karma is trying to land, your people around you are misusing their free will and opening new karmic accounts. And you have a certain amount of free will, but only a certain amount. The last part of this is the part that's entirely missing in our civilization, is that you could redefine yourself so that you step out of this karma system. And what is described in the Bhagavad Gita is that how you see yourself while you act defines how much karma you get back to you.
Better give an example of that.
If you don't, for example, if I were to just go down the street and put grocery bags full of money in people's porch and then just keep going, and none of them see who did that, then no direct karma comes back to me from any of those people because they don't know how to find me. So in a sense, I just stayed anonymous. So what if you declare yourself essentially not the matter, Ahamkara? Then every time you go to do something, what you will not expect is a certain result. Every time you do something expecting a result, you generate karma. And if you do the wrong thing, it doubles. If you do the right thing, then a pleasant thing comes back to you. So we're in the midst of from here and not expecting the outcome to be delivered to you that you were thinking you wanted while you did something. Then you have extracted yourself from the cause and effect process to a huge degree. But if you still become president of a country, you can't just wave off the karma that's going to come toward you, but you won't be in the same state of bondage that you would be if you're attached to the result. This is very subtle, so think about it deeply. It has to do a consequence within matter for what we do. That causes the bondage. The past karmas are burning off if you don't get any more. So if you stop violating yogi does, then if whatever you do, you don't attach to the outcome. So now you're not causing a lot of chaos. You're not killing, you're not harming, you're not destroying. you're tiptoeing through life as gently as you can. It's called ahimsa. Then from that posture, you're connected to Brahman as your source of identity, and you're not attached to any outcome within matter. You act, but with no attachment to the outcome. And by analysis with your buddhi, you see your true self as the Atma instead of re-identifying with matter while you act. That state makes you immune to karmic consequences. After a while, there's only one thing left. You'll take birth, and all that's left, and this is how the yogis describe it in modern times, a fan is plugged into the wall and it's turning. You unplug the fan, it slowly turns, not as fast. And after 1, maybe 2, maybe 6 lives, it slows down. You come back again, become a yogi when you're 5 years old. In India, this is legion, this happening. A 5-year-old is walking with his parents, sees a group of yogis and says, I want to go there, I want to go there.
There's no material thing they need to do or no material relationship.
You need a single experience within matter to be done.
I always have an inner chuckle whenever I hear somebody in the West saying, oh, this is my last life. And I'm thinking, okay.
You tell that to Yamaraj. This is my last life. You don't get to do that. I get to, I'm in charge. I'm from a new age. I just think it and it happens. You think so, huh? No, it's not like that.
All right, let's take a question. That explanation Jeffrey gave, I suggest that when you get the video, you listen to that a couple times because that may have very quick summary. So Rosario, let's hear something from you.
What is like what you say about karma. It means that we are always accountable for whatever we do. It doesn't mean also that the concept of innocence is not real, because as far as we are on this planet, we are not innocent. No one of us, because unconsciously we have a collective karma or individual, right?
Absolutely. We're implicated just by being here, but we can control our behaviors enough that we don't go into the darker sides of those implications.
So the purpose is to reduce to the minimum, as you say, to do the little one until we reborn again, we do, and not just a short life. Okay, thank you.
Yes, and in yoga, those are called yams and niyams. It's your internal life and your external life are carefully managed and measured and governed by rules of conduct that you know and choose, just you as an individual. So in every situation, you stand back from matter as someone walking through it rather than implicated in it.
There's a class that Jeffrey did. It's in the 8 Limbs of Yoga series called Yams and Niyams. And I think today, midnight today, is the last day to use the 50% off coupon. So it's a great class to get some yoga tools, practical yoga tools. And the other one is How to Live a Spiritual Lifestyle. That series is really good as well. I apologize now because some of the really early talks that we didn't have as good sound equipment at that time. But the wisdom is timeless. So.
Thank you, Sandy. There's one more kind of karma I forgot to tell you about, which is so crucial.
The fourth kind?
The black marbles. No, the black marbles and the white marbles.
Prakriti.
So those are the fact that you either punya or papa. Papa is a black marble. You violated the laws of nature. A black marble was dropped in your jar. Then you work with the laws of nature. A white marble is dropped into your jar. When you turn in the white marbles, you get pleasure, sukha. And when you turn in the black marbles, which you must, you get or pain. Now, there's one more kind of karma that I didn't called sukriti. Su means one's own, and kriti means the krita. It means the results of activities that are yogic. When you behave as an Atma rather than inside the context system. When you aspire toward these being I've just been describing, every bit of that you do drops a golden marble container. When you go from life to life, you use up and burn out black or white marbles. Gold marbles never go away. They only get more numerous from life to life. So the karma that comes and goes is cause and effect within matter. The actions you do as the Atma, the actions you do that lead to moksha, the things that you aspire to be and do that are outside of matter give you a gold marble that doesn't go away, and those accumulate from life to life, which is why at a certain point a child is born. I was one of those children. I looked around at 8 years old and said, everyone's lying to me. I've got to find the truth. I'm not happy with this. I didn't like my high school. It was reform school. I didn't like my teachers. Most of them weren't truth tellers. I didn't like my adults. They lied to me about Santa Claus and all the rest of it. I felt I was surrounded by lies. By 13, I started writing poetry. I was angry at being lied to. And finally, at 23, I went into an ashram, said to my culture, okay, you have completely missed it, folks. You are just binding yourself to all of this. Why would I do that? Because in previous lives, I've been collecting gold marbles. So for the last 50 years, my deepest continuous hunger has been moksha. For the last 20 years, Sandi and I have done no vacations. We don't even have that in our vocabulary. Just moksha-oriented activities, handing out knowledge that will free people from the bondage to samsara, because that's all we have left within matter. So each one of us is operating that way. So if you understand this, you will set up an amount of time per day where you aspire only for moksha, and it has no material aspiration, outcome, nothing, just to be in the correct state of being as an immortal being, and to be connected to the sources of that energy as your primary activity.
Let me just say, the atmosphere has never been clearer for you to do that than right now.
Exactly.
All right, let's take another question. We'll make sure Jeffrey makes the answer short. Who's got a question? Just type your name in the box or raise your hand. I can't see everybody. Okay, Ganatan, you're up next. Unmute yourself.
Can you hear?
We can hear you.
We can, thank you.
All right. So earlier you mentioned mantra or higher experiences. I'm interested in the discussion on higher experiences. Can you elaborate?
Yes. Mantras are highly, highly concentrated Sanskrit sound vibrations, which now that we have broadcast, after all, it's happening right now, we know that sound can be broadcast, go invisible, not appear to be sound, and then be unscrambled as sound. So mantra is that sound, but it's giving yourself a massive dose without trying to filter it through meaning. A single-minded intention upon the entity of the mantra or the reality of the mantra. And what you want to do is become the same as that, which is called samadhi, becoming the same. Whereas all of our other activities, if there's what's called sat or truth conveyed in those rather than just attachment to matter, each little bit of that truth is like a ball of light, which does enlighten us. So the way the Vedic civilization looks at the rest of the world is that they're all, in that sense, the same. They don't look at them prejudicially because of their culture. They know they're already eating a certain amount of little light pills every day. So just imagine your diet could have more light in it or less. That's a hunger you have to pursue. So if you have an enlightened lifestyle and diet, then the mantra is the highly concentrated dose that is missing from our vocabulary. In our civilizations across the world, we more or less understand that we get enlightened when some people speak. We know that the things they say are always true.
Or music changes your state. We know that.
Right.
But when it's so funny how our mind says, oh, I can't do a mantra. It's a foreign language.
Yep.
I can't do it. I can't. Why would I? And on one hand, this is kind of where you have to say, okay, this is my teacher. Thousands of yogis have come before him. They keep saying mantra is powerful. Why am I not hearing it? Why will I go on Facebook for 3 hours and I can't chant mantras for half an hour?
So think of philosophy as indirect enlightenment, and think of mantra as direct enlightenment. It's like a difference between a washcloth with water on it cleaning you and a shower cleaning you. You know the difference. So it's the same thing, that if something is always true, it's called sat. So going back to the Dharma word, our sva-dharma is the correct use of the vehicle we're driving. That's helpful. So in whatever you do every day, if you do it according to your vehicle type, you'll have a harmonious day because you'll use this piece of nature harmonious with the rest of nature. But that's just a convenience within matter. But your Sanatan Dharma is those actions which are always true under all circumstances with no exceptions for all beings. That's called Sanatan Dharma. When you increase that in your diet, the percentage of activities that are literally outside of matter, not directing an outcome within matter, but directing a state of being of you, the Atma, that is the most direct form of yoga. The other was the Buddhi yoga, where you get a little enlightenment here, find a truth there, all part of the human process. Because life does this to us. It makes us ask questions. We get a bit more light, a bit more truth. And all people in all cultures do this.
So it's kind of like, what are you imprinting? What are you feeding your manas, your thinking, feeling, willing, and memory capacities?
But
what are you digesting?
So in other words, in every language, you can pass some degree of truth along because that's the very nature of our existence. It's like dark and light. So all cultures are experiencing dark and light, so they're to some degree enlightened. But the specific contribution of Bharat was the Sanskrit language, the mantras in that Sanskrit language, because they go direct. And by going direct, you have control over how much of that directness you do. Now I'm going to give you one more word. It's very important. Because all of you are asking, really, what can I do to negate karma? What can I do to burn it off? What heat will burn it? How do I throw the negatives in the fire? Can I? If a bunch of negative stuff is coming at me, can I divert it? Can I just fry it and burn it off?
You know, the blonde walking across the bar? That's a piece of karma, folks.
Or the bar. All of those things are the senses dragging somewhere again. So now imagine that the link directly to Brahman, and holding that link, ask yourself, how many hours a day do you currently do that? How many hours of 24? Just do the math. If the answer is half an hour, that's your ratio. If the answer is every moment that I can remember, that's a different ratio. If it's 2 hours in the morning, 2 hours before I go to bed, and throughout the day, I'm always trying. This shows a different angle of your being. And what's downloading in, if you also know the mantras and their purpose and who you are, then with that, the technical term is tapasya. Now, this is where your will turns into the service of your Atma. A willfulness within matter is most of our problems. A willfulness that I'm now aiming at something which gives me sat, always gives me truth. Holding that in place will make you sweat. Doing that for 2 hours will make you sweat. Doing anything like that intensely will generate a heat. The heat will burn off your past.
It's like sandpaper. Think of it sandpaper in your nervous system.
Think of it as burning off anything that doesn't need to be there and leaving everything useful behind. Think of it as a fire. And I say, all right, you want to really change your life? Right now, throw everything into the fire that you really don't need. Throw in all those stories. Throw in all that pain. Throw in all those negative ideas of yourself. Throw in all those old memories that you don't need. Throw in everything except the higher truths that you're actually now going to live on. Do not define yourself by any of the crazy things the world is doing, of the crazy things that were done to you, of the horrible things that you've seen or done or been. None of it. This is tapasya, and it's a fire that doesn't burn you. It burns what isn't you.
And can those of you out there with trauma, can you feel your body saying yes, but?
Yeah. And don't show me your butt.
There's someone online here that I'd like everybody to meet, and that is Nilesh. Oh, Nilesh, can you put your video on? There we are.
And your audio.
And you're unmute.
Yeah, I'll do that.
All right, I just posted Nilesh's bio in the chat. Nilesh is going to be our guest 2 weeks from now. And I know many of you who are regular have heard Jeffrey speak about him many times. He is the author of When Did the Mahabharata War Happen, as well as the historic Rama Indian civilization at the end of the, I don't even know how to say that, Pleistocene? How do you say it?
Yeah, Pleistocene or Pleistocene.
There you go. And that's why we pay these guys the big bucks. They're the academics. I'm the shallow girlfriend. Anyway, we are thrilled because what Nilesh did was these astronomical calculations that were in the Mahabharata and the Bhagavad Gita to backdate the exact date of the Mahabharata war. And he's been a good friend of Jeffrey's years now. So for those of you that are historical buffs and astrological buffs, don't miss this talk. It's we hosted, we had a beautiful brunch out on the back deck and really a fabulous conversation. So we did want to share that with everybody. Did you have?
Yeah, just a few words on that. Each scholar inside the Vedic knowledge base, inside its library, inside its, has a nature of their own, from which comes their service, their seva. And then each one of them can make a contribution to carrying this knowledge forward through time. In the case, he has focused upon something that the Adamic religions during the colonizing phase of history went through. Completely did everything they could to undermine the antiquity of the Vedic knowledge. Because they knew, first of all, was they were terrified of time. And they know that the Vedic civilization, with its broader view of both the self and of existence, and with its ultimate knowing of those things through Sanskrit, is the mother culture. So Nilesh set himself to bringing forward from historical literature of India, not making it up in his head, but from the actual comments in the literature, which do not exist in any other literature in the world, and extrapolating from them based on modern astronomy, mathematics, logic, and showing by all of those scientific means, date of the Vedic appearances in history, and the most important one that everyone messed with was the Bhagavad Gita and appearance, and they wanted to make that 1500 years ago a made-up story, a myth, a this, a that, and Nilesh has succeeded where no one before him has. He has actually shown conclusively, mathematically, logically, scientifically, the antiquity of the Vedic civilization at no less than modern Vedic civilization at no less than 5,600 years ago. Nilesh, I hope I represented that correctly. But I'm excited as I can be to have him share the microphone when we talk next. And thank you all so much for joining us today.